Son of a
Glitch.
Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, Part 2! We continue our glitchy adventure in Mushroom Hill Zone, and in Act 1, it's possible to use a level wrap to get to the end in record time. When the Knuckles cutscene ends, drop down and use the button to open the door. Now quickly jump on the button once again to close it. Here we need to get under the door enough that it pushes us into the ground and briefly press right and then jump left like so. This will put Sonic through the ground and inside a wall, where now holding right on the D-pad will zip Sonic to the end of the act. Sonic will now be at the boss because of the screen lock, and you can just beat the stage as normal. Of course, this isn't the only glitch in Mushroom Hill Zone. Have Tails hang on one of these poles you find in the zone. Now have Sonic move away from Tails so he's off screen. Then move Tails back on screen towards Sonic and this will happen. Tails seems a bit confused, but when he moves further away, things return to normal. As Hypersonic, if you destroy the Act 1 boss before it has a chance to make its way to the far right side of the screen, it can have strange effects during the score. Using Tails to airlift Sonic before control is taken away from the player, once he lands, you'll now have full control of Sonic. Now position of sprites relative to the camera have become displaced, which is funny enough, but you can also move all the way to the right of the screen. The beginning of Act 2 has partially loaded, but with the camera position like this, to go too far to the right would be suicide. But once Act 2 loads properly, you'll be able to move on, and straight into the next glitch. For this, you'll need a fire shield. During the cutscene where Knuckles blows you upwards, Sonic needs to touch the very edge where the cutscene triggers. Then use the fire shield to quickly move in the opposite direction, and when the camera moves upwards, the zone's color palette will remain the same instead of changing season. From changing seasons to a change of zone. In Flying Battery, there's a glitch you can do from the beginning that's not only hilarious to look at, but extremely useful too. When the first act begins, stand close to this booster and crouch down to pan the camera. When it's locked down, do a one-tap spin dash and then hold right on the D-pad until you enter the loop. This will throw Sonic's physics completely out the door and the result is amazing. While in this state, the slope glitch is active, meaning Sonic will maintain the angle of the last ground plane he interacted with. And using this state, we can easily make it through the entirety of Act 1 by doing not very much at all. Of course, the real fun of this glitch is the pose Sonic or Tails is stuck in. Hey, that reminds me of something. You tackle the mini-boss in the normal way, but we want to keep the slope glitch to also break the second act. In order to do this, stand on the edge of the boss next to the button as it's being destroyed. When Sonic stands on a sprite-based object as it's destroyed, he's able to enter the slope glitch state. When Act 2 begins, we're going to be doing a series of complex steps in order to zip our way through it. Firstly, you need to charge a spin dash to give you some speed and height to land on this curved ceiling by jumping to the right. Then begin holding left briefly until Sonic is inside the floor. At about this point, hold right for a split second and then let go. Hopefully Sonic should fall into this section of wall here and then we can just hold left on the D-pad. Sonic will now be in this section outside, so make your way to the right until we reach the other side. Here we need to jump on a certain part of the slope and hold left on the D-pad to run inside it and initiate a zip. About 3 seconds into this zip, and while still holding left, tap jump. This should put Sonic on a rising platform, and from here we can easily make our way to the boss. But in typical fashion, we won't be seeing much of Robotnik here. If we stand in just the right spot and then spin dash, it's possible to clip right through the lasers at the side of the screen and slip past Robotnik. Now everything will appear glitchy but function normally, so now we just have to make our way up to the boss. In Tails' version of the zip, holding left all the way will put him in a lower part of the act past the boss. You need to fly to the right and then back again to activate the floor that moves upwards, and then quickly make your way to the top before Tails is crushed. When you eventually get to this point, you need to fly up to the top and then you have to wait for the platform to stop before you can get onto it to begin the boss. Those glitched out sprites are supposed to be clouds, nice job. Here's a couple of other glitches before we move on to the next zone. By airlifting Sonic onto the monkey bars, Sonic can be completely broken yet again. The game thinks Sonic is still being airlifted and gets confused because Sonic's not grounded nor has he jumped from Tails. If you stand Tails next to one of these animal capsule springs and then jump on the spring as Sonic, for some strange reason Tails will behave as though he's also hit the spring. No idea why this happens, but it's pretty funny. Have Tails grab one of these spinning fan poles and then leave Tails off screen and then come back. Oh hey Sonic, just doing my morning exercises. I might be here a while. As Knuckles, when you fight the second act boss, it's Robotnik and not Egg Robo. Some bright spark at Sega didn't bother creating a forward-facing sprite for Egg Robo, so this is used instead. Not a glitch by conventional means, but certainly not intended. Onto Sandopolis Zone now, and if you spin dash at this block in front of the sand slide, Sonic will be carried up the slide in his falling pose. As long as you keep holding down on the D-pad, Sonic will just keep going. Well, until this guy killed him. Too bad. As Sonic is invincible, stand on these spikes until the power-up ends. Ha! Sonic don't need no power-ups. Forget I said that. Here's a zip that Tails can perform to level wrap Act 1. This one's really easy, simply fly up to this block here and then hold right, which should shoot Tails left and past the far left side of the screen. This is the easiest level wrap in the game by a long shot, and it'll drop you nicely at the boss. Sandopolis Zone Act 2 is another stage that wraps vertically, meaning it can be broken using screen wraps. There are only a few places where it's useful, however. Oh, and also, for some reason you can clip through this part of the ground if you fall into it at the right spot. Lava Reef Zone has a similar kind of glitch which helps create a nice shortcut. Stand on this spot and charge up a spin dash, let go, hold right and then tap jump. Hopefully Sonic will land inside the second block, and if so, hold left and he'll be zipped through the wall. It's then possible to jump up to this higher ledge and continue through the rest of the act. This glitch can also be used in the second act to skip the boss fight. By standing here, spin dashing and then jumping immediately after, Sonic can land inside the ledge. Then just tap left and Sonic will zip off to the right of the screen and land inside this tube. Once in here, to get out we need to do a quick spin dash and Sonic will go through the wall at the other end. This can be tricky, but seeing as there's a solid wall placed at each end of the tube, Sonic will go back and forth until you can escape with a spin dash. From there you can move on to Hidden Palace and skip the boss of Lava Reef Act 2. These walls are sprite-based objects, and when they're far enough off screen their collision unloads, enabling Sonic to pass right through them when moving really quickly. Tails has a different way of breaking the second act. During the Act 1 boss, stand here when you deliver the final hit. Doing this will make sure the signpost falls on a fire shield hidden within the floor. As the fire shield bounces out of the ground, it's possible for Tails to get under it and be pushed into the ground. Tails is small enough to move into the space underneath the fire shield, so holding right on the D-pad should get him into the floor, but make sure to let go of right on the D-pad once you're in. Now that Tails is in the floor, we need to wait for Lava Reef Zone Act 2 to load. Holding right as soon as the act begins will drop Tails through the ground, which is not what we want. We have to wait for 6 3/4 seconds, then press right, which will zip Tails pretty much all the way through Act 2, and land him next to this tube that will take him up to the final section of the zone. Tails can also do the wall skip shown earlier by just flying to the walls before the tube, but here's a good place to point out another glitch. During this cutscene, if Tails is alone, the game uses the wrong sprite for Tails getting rolled away by the boulder. When Sonic and Tails are both in the cutscene, it uses Tails' falling sprite, but when Tails is alone, it uses this sprite instead. Next up is Hidden Palace and a way to break the cutscene after the fight with Knuckles. For this you'll need Super or Hyper Sonic and a lightning shield. Before you reach the fight with Knuckles, look upwards to lock the camera and then have Tails airlift Sonic over to Knuckles. You'll need to damage Knuckles quickly to make this glitch work. As Tails gets tired of flying, you should be landing the final hit on Knuckles. You'll need to jump from Tails and then jump again using the lightning shield and quickly have Tails grab Sonic in the air again. The camera has to stay panned up like this, so if Sonic hits the ground, no glitch will occur. The cutscene will begin, but the camera won't be in its intended position, so now if we make our way to the right, we can see what the results are. First off, Knuckles will have disappeared, and because of this, the cutscene won't play out as usual. Robotnik will try and shock absolutely nothing, and then, instead of leaving, he'll just stay put. And now if we take the time to hit Robotnik 256 times, he'll die. But then after that, every time we double jump, he'll appear on screen. Depending on when we start this cutscene, different results can occur. If we wait for a moment and then move into the cutscene, Robotnik won't even grab the Master Emerald. And he still hasn't realised Knuckles isn't even there. Onto Sky Sanctuary now, and parts of this zone are also wrapped vertically to once again fit the height of the stage. And we're here to take full advantage of that. Grabbing a lightning shield and then making our way to this spot, we need to crouch down and then once the camera is locked, let go of down and then jump right. As Sonic appears on screen and falls right, tap jump again to make it over to the transporter below. From here all we need to do is carry on the stage normally and eventually we'll end up at the final transporter and onto the Mecha Sonic boss. And this screen wrap skips the other two Mecha Sonic fights in this zone. But if you're up for the challenge, it's possible to fight multiple Mecha Sonics at the same time. Before the final transporter, have Tails airlift Hypersonic up to the platform it takes you to instead. Make sure to use the screen wrap glitch from this zone to get to the end early, skipping the other bosses. Once on this platform, wait for Tails to rejoin you and then airlift Sonic over to the left of the screen, to the section where you fight the second Mecha Sonic. And now there'll be two of them. Things just got a bit crazy. But they can always get crazier. Once you beat them both, jump on the transporter and you'll still have control of Sonic. The cutscene will begin as normal, but the appearance of it is anything but. With the cutscene beginning in the wrong place, all of the sprites are glitched out. The screen will then move to the correct position before playing the cutscene out somewhat normally, but the visuals still remain broken. But I think we can get something even more entertaining than this. Fly up to the platform once again, but this time we don't have to land on it. We can store the trigger for Mecha Sonic by just getting close to the platform. Now head back all the way down to the lower section and Mecha Sonic should now appear. We need to beat Mecha Sonic without it jumping down below the stage, as then we won't be able to finish it. Once it's down, airlift Sonic to the platforms above so we still have control once the end of act score appears on screen. Now we need to make it to the final transporter, and once we do, man are we in for a show. Things go absolutely nuts for a second, and then Sonic will be running like a crazy hedgehog. Meanwhile, Tails has too many tails. This is too much. I think we need to move on to the next zone. But before we do, let's have one last glitch in Sky Sanctuary. As Knuckles, there is one frame where he's able to jump out of the transporter. If you glide to the right and get caught by Egg Robo, this can glitch out Mecha Sonic after the first stage of the fight. Once Mecha Sonic gets to the Master Emerald to charge up, he'll jump downwards and then he'll keep falling through the screen, getting faster and faster. This will eventually fix itself, but it takes a while. Onto Death Egg Zone, and spin dashing near these anti-gravity gadgets will make Sonic float around while in a spin dash. Get Tails to airlift Sonic onto one of these things and it'll pick Sonic up by his head and pull him upwards. There's an area in the first act that if you look up to lock the camera and then have Tails airlift Sonic so the rising stairs are off screen, once you lower Sonic down and hold left, the stairs will clip him into the wall. Now carry on holding left and this should hopefully land you in Death Egg Act 1's loopback area. In this part of the zone, no sprites are loaded and only the level geometry is in place. Even the electrified floors aren't active. But by far the best glitch in Death Egg Zone happens at the end of the final boss. Using Tails, it's possible to finish off Robotnik before the screen begins scrolling in the final chase. By bouncing and then flying, Tails can get the initial hits and then Sonic can finish it. And now, because the screen never begins scrolling, Robotnik will infinitely explode. We're stuck here, aren't we? Okay, let's move on to debug glitches. In order to get debug mode, first go to Angel Island Zone Act 1 and then jump on a vine. Once on the vine, press left left left, right right right, up up up, and then you'll hear a ring sound. Now press start and then the A button to return to the title screen. Now scroll down to see the new sound test option. This is level select, and here we need to go to Mushroom Hill Zone Act 1 and then get to a pulley. Here we need to press left left left, right right right, up up up, and once again you'll hear a ring sound. Press start and then the A button to return to the title screen and then go back into the sound test. Now in the level select again, whichever zone or act we choose, we must press and hold the A button and then press start. Once we have all this done, for the first glitch, head to the File menu and choose a zone. When that zone begins, press start and then the A button. Go back into Sound Test Level Select, and now we're going to choose Lava Reef Act 4, which is Hidden Palace Zone. Here in Hidden Palace Zone, press the B button to enter debug mode. Now make your way to where the emeralds are, making sure not to trigger the Knuckles boss. Jump on an emerald and once in the special zone, just fail it and leave. The game is going to send us to Angel Island Zone Act 1 despite the fact that we're in Hidden Palace Zone. Now press the B button to once again enter debug mode. Angel Island Zone is flooded, but the water level will begin dropping, so in debug mode we need to follow it down like this and hopefully the game will reset itself. The game has a very high chance of crashing here, so take it slowly. Now the game must reset in order for this glitch to work. If the game resets, now go back into the sound test and you'll see the number 80 here. Usually the only numbers we'd have here are 00, 01, 02 and 03, which represent Sonic and Tails, Sonic alone, Tails, and then Knuckles. Now select any zone with A and start. The number 80 represents a blue Knuckles, which the game treats as Sonic. Now as cool as this is, you'll have Knuckles' power to break open rock walls and all that stuff, but if the game thinks you're really Sonic, there are limits to where you can go. For instance, in Act 1 of Angel Island Zone, you're unable to take Knuckles' path as the game would usually kill Sonic if he goes beyond these rocks. You'll need to use debug mode to get up to Sonic's path and carry on as normal. Funny thing is, when you finish an act, the game for some reason thinks you're called Tails. So you're a blue Knuckles called Tails that the game thinks is Sonic. That's not confusing at all. This is a pretty sweet glitch, and Knuckles actually looks good in blue. Going back to where we warped to Angel Island Zone during the setup of this glitch, it's possible to carry on the zone as normal if it doesn't crash. Using debug mode, we need to follow the water level all the way down until this glitched out version of Sonic can run on the ground. Remember, the game is still unstable right now, so when you move to the right, this is likely to happen. But if the game doesn't crash and the act starts up again, things will become stable. Well, nearly. At first, Sonic won't interact with the ground normally, so you have to use debug mode to get into this point in the zone, and then things should be okay. Except for the fact that Sonic doesn't look so good. He still remains glitched out, and when Angel Island gets torched, he looks even worse. I love how everything in this picture looks right except this glitchy Sonic. The way it runs just cracks me up. And Sonic will look like this all the way through the zone until we get to the next. Debug mode as a general rule can be used to glitch out the game. Like if we use debug mode during the intro, we can manage to fly Tails' plane into the zone, but eventually we'll just end up crashing the game. Using debug mode during the Mushroom Hill to Flying Battery cutscene plays havoc with the game too. The cutscene will continue to play, and if you leave it long enough, it'll speed up. Leave it even longer and the sprites will be going backwards at speed. Here's an interesting debug glitch. Head to Mushroom Hill Zone Act 1 and then use debug mode to spawn a dozen hypersonic item boxes. Now spin dash into them and the game will freak out and put hypersonic over here. You won't be able to move and then the game will reset. But instead of the Sonic 3 and Knuckles title screen appearing, the Sonic and Knuckles version is used instead. So now you're technically playing Sonic and Knuckles. This next one's just crazy. In Sandopolis zone, spawn an enemy and then die to it and immediately enter debug mode. Now begin moving right and line up the camera like this. Just keep going right until the screen shifts slightly. When this happens, move up slightly and then to the right, and if the game doesn't crash, you'll get this. I think I just won the game? I have no idea what this is all about, but it's definitely something. But if you really want to mess with the game, head to bonus stage 1 with debug mode. Move upwards to about where the second flipper is on the right side. Now keep moving right until eventually the screen will cycle. Then all you have to do is move back to the left, and if it wasn't already apparent, you're about to see some insane glitching. First off, you've got multiple tornado planes, then you've got upside down supersonics flying around, and there's the launch base zone final boss just casually passing by. Oh, did you know this was the bonus stage? The game lags like crazy because of all the sprites and cutscenes that are loaded at the same time and crashes. Well, that was insane. But there you have it guys, a ton of glitches you can try out in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And if you like this episode, hit that like button, share it with everyone you know and love, but most importantly, please subscribe if you want to see more from the series. Head over to the Facebook page for the show. I post updates and sneak peeks to upcoming episodes and keep you guys in the know about all things Son of a Glitch. Or you guys can follow me on Twitter and keep updated that way. Also, I stream on Twitch whilst making episodes, so you guys should check me out there too, you know, if you want to.